Why is color important? Color is important because it tells a story. It also changes the mood. It influences what we think and also how we feel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to choose color and how to use color in your portrait paintings. First, I'm going to be talking about how to choose color, starting off with the different color schemes, the feeling and psychology behind color, and how to keep a color inspiration board. And then I'm going to be talking about how to use color from the saturation and the values to experimenting. So why wait any longer? Let's jump right in. Now let's start off with color schemes. So there are several different color schemes. You have monochromatic, analogous, complementary, triadic, split complementary, tetradic, and square. Now I'm not going to go too in depth with each color scheme. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what they are. You got monochromatic. Monochromatic is one color that changes in different hues. You got analogous, colors that are adjacent, right next to each other, on a color wheel. So you could have yellow, yellow-green, and green. You got triadic. These are a set of three colors that are equally distanced apart. You got complementary. A lot of people know this one. Two colors that are opposite hues on a color wheel. You got split complementary. A primary color that is used with two analogous colors. Tetradic, also known as rectangle. Two complementary color pairs. And lastly, square. Four colors that are evenly spaced. Now it's a brief overview of color schemes and what they do. So what I encourage you to do from the color schemes is get an idea and take a second to study each one of them so you have a better idea of why you're choosing certain colors. It's simple, such as I do, to go on Pinterest and look at colors that are already chosen to put together, right? It's helpful to know why they chose those colors. So then the more we practice this, we can begin to put our own color combinations together. Now next in how to choose your colors is the feeling and psychology part. Now, why do you want to choose these colors in your painting? What feelings do you want to evoke in the viewer? Now this goes along with the psychology part. Each color has its own psychology behind it. Green makes you think of fresh, right? A lot of times they use this when we're talking about healthy food or recycling, which, side note, is a scam. That's a different topic though. Each color gives you a different meaning behind it. Or you have red, which brings anger. When people use it on the for sale sign, it's immediate, right? So think about the psychology behind each color. What do you want someone to feel when they look at your painting? Take those words and correspond them into those colors. Even look at your favorite color. If you look at your personality close, you can see why you choose that color. And look at the meaning behind that color. And usually, sometimes it makes sense. Next, another way to help you choose colors is to keep an inspiration board. Now what this does is, you can either build some Pinterest, similar to what I do. I have a board and it has different kind of color combinations and ideas. This is gonna help you go back to look and see, okay, what colors do I like? What's a pattern here that I see that I can use for this next painting? Or if I already use this color scheme, why not choose another? Why not explore a different kind of color scheme? So keep a board or a folder, file, to give yourself some inspiration from. It's gonna help you whittle down and choose what colors that you want to use for your next painting. Now let's jump into how to use these colors. Saturation and value. So for the saturation, it's very important because a lot of times if we use saturation on the same level, if we use the same saturation for each color in our painting, then there's no contrast, there's no difference. There's no room for the viewer to look and give their eyes a break. You look at the colors red and blue right next to each other, and sometimes it can hurt your eyes because the saturation levels are exactly the same. Or if you put pink and green, I believe is together, your eyes hurt looking at it, right? So saturation, specifically in portrait painting, a lot of times, whatever part that we want to stand out more, we can have that have the most saturation. The portrait, for example, itself, what I would suggest doing is making the background less intense. For my paintings, I like to tone down the saturation of the background, make it lower so that portrait may pop more. Even the eye area. A good thing to do is put warms next to cools. So if you want an area to pop more or stand out more, bump up the saturation in certain areas that you want the viewer to focus on. And then the values. Something that's helpful is to take a photo of whatever it is, your work, for example, and let's say you're going back and forth whether you should up the saturation or lower it. Take a look at the values. Take a photo of your work, put it in black and white, and see which colors are standing out more. Now, if every color seems flat and you have a lot of very similar grays and you're painting a lot of very similar darks, then maybe you don't have enough pop, enough saturation in one area. So think about the different values, because when we have our painting, we look at it in black and white, then that helps us really see what is standing out and what is not. Now the next thing you want to do is experiment. Experiment with different color schemes and different saturations and different values in your paintings. This helps you build up that mental library of ideas that you can use for your next paintings and so on. So experiment with different colors. A lot of times it can be intimidating to think of a painting and think, okay, you already painted it, right? You already painted some of the parts of it, and now you want to add more color onto it. Practice that before you jump onto the main canvas. Keep a swatch list of different colors that you've already painted. Take a look at your previous paintings. Take a look at those and see what you've already experimented with and what more you want to experience with as well. Go through the different lists of color schemes. Go through and see the ones you didn't use and see the ones that are challenging to use that you want to try out. Now within the color schemes, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, the T-triadic and I believe the square are the most difficult to use. But when you use those ones and you figure out how to use them within your painting, you'll see a great result out of using those once they're figured out and put down. Colors can be intimidating because we definitely want our viewer to feel a certain way about our painting. We definitely want to evoke a certain emotion. So consider that. Think of how we can learn the basics of colors to see how we can use them. So experiment with them. If you're a portrait painter and you're painting a series, if you want to make that series consistent, use a certain color scheme all throughout that series. That's going to help you bring your pieces together. So consider those color schemes. Think about them, take a look at them, memorize some of them, and use them in your paintings. Also, a little extra tip, break the rules. Don't be afraid to break the rules when it comes to colors. It is totally okay, especially if you know these color schemes, if you know how to use them, people see that you know how to use these color schemes, and you have that experience along with you, and you deliberately want to make something completely not stuck to the previous foundation of these color rules. Do that. Break those rules as well. Don't be afraid. You don't have to stick to these. These are simply foundations that you can base your color work from and use. When you said all you know, it's time to go. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.